Yes, sir. We are
I
live.
didn't pay attention.
All right, sports update. Adrian, Reid, was good.
Was good.
Another episode. Let's dive right into it. So, wanted to start off with the Wings. Wings been on a somewhat of a hot streak. They were on a 7-game win streak. They did lose last night to San Jose, but currently 44 points on the season. They're a game over 500. They looked a lot better since they fired Derek Lalonde. So, Reid, where you at with this Wings team? How optimistic are you about them now?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're looking good. The game against the Sharks, they probably should have won because the Sharks are so bad. But that always happens. A West Coast trip, probably be a little taxing on the guys. I mean, I had to work, and it was at the Wings game when they played Seattle. They scored four. We were packing up to leave it at 3:15, and the game started at 3. They scored 4 goals in like the first 10 minutes of play I was there. Like the horn just kept going off as we were walking out. So all the screens I'm looking at, and they scored a bunch. So that was an interesting game. It looks like McClellan's got these guys firing on all cylinders, which is good. I think a lot of people talk about it. Lalonde just seemed too much of a nice guy, a guy that you want to go have a beer with after playing a game of hockey, not a guy that's going to, really chew you out kind of the way that McClellan does. I think the first time or the second game, maybe they had a loss. And he said, just play effing hockey. That's what you're used to. They came out and they won, almost 7 games in a row, whatever it was, 6-7 games in a row. And I mean, they're looking good. I think Kane and DeBrincat and Larkin are finally finding their footing. That was a big problem as those guys couldn't get anything produced. Raymond's looked good. Sider's been okay defensively. Edvinson's been okay defensively up until this point. They've all kind of turned it around. So I'm optimistic about them. Tarasenko's turned it around. I think they need to probably make a move. Not probably. They definitely need to make a move at the deadline, whether it's acquiring a good defender or another second-line center maybe. They definitely need more defensive help. The goaltending stepped up. Talbot's played well. Lyons played well. So I think they're in a good position right now. I think they're playing well for McClellan. I would like to see how they do, coming up. I think they have I think they play a pretty tough. I think they have a pretty tough schedule now. They had 3 easy games, which was the Blackhawks, then Seattle, then San Jose, and then I think coming up they have a tougher schedule.
I got the next 3 games, next 4 games at the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
At the Panthers, at the Lightning, at the Stars, at the Flyers.
Yeah, see, so it's the Flyers are probably about the same as us, but those next 3 are pretty tough. If you can pull 1 or 2 of those out, 2 of them would be amazing, but one of them would still be even good because those teams are all, especially the Panthers who just won. I think they're playing well. Yzerman just needs to be hot at the deadline. Casper is the guy I keep forgetting to bring up. He's played really well for someone they drafted 3 years ago, whatever it was, 2-3 years ago. He's played really well. Being kind of a smaller guy, so. I like him. A guy that I'm excited about, obviously, because he's a Swede, and I'm big on the Swedes, and is Axel Sandin Pelka. I think that's how you say his name. He's killed it for the Swedish national team. For his league that he's in, he has scored, I believe, 22 points in 27 games. So he's a guy that can come up on defense. He's a little smaller, so he can kind of sneak around and score. He's a guy I'd like to see come up in the next year or 2, hopefully next year, because the way he's played incredible the last 2 years. So,
Reid's more the hockey guy than I am, but I will say it's good that you can see them trying to hit a turnaround. I mean, imagine if they would have played like this during the beginning of the season, or just even play 500 hockey. They would have been a lot better. They have some potential on this team. Obviously, we need some upgrades, but continue to play 500 hockey. They're only 4 points out of the wild card from Columbus, who Columbus wasn't even supposed to be good this year. They were supposed to be tanking, but I mean they definitely got a shot. So the season will be over fast, and it. But I give them a shot. They're playing well. I think, like I said, it was that new coach point, but they needed a change of voice. Some guys is gonna put some ump in it and keep it moving. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I'm definitely optimistic as well. Seemed like the ship was sinking there for a second, but seem like they salvaged it now with the lone firing, playing much better. So we got to see how they do with this stretch run, going to get some tougher opponents. Let's make sure it's not just lightning in the bottle. I want to see how they play these next couple games. So, yeah, Thursday against Florida, against the defending Stanley champs. Let's see how they match. Let's see how they look. All right, so yeah, they want to switch to the Pistons. Pistons been playing great, man. They're 21-19, currently the 8th seed right now. So Adrian, where you at with this Pistons team, man? Do you expect Cade to be an all-star? And what's this team ceiling?
I definitely think they can. At this point, we were talking about them possibly even getting into the play-in, but now I kind of expect them to at least get to the 6th seed where they're out of the play-in. You can just tell if we look at it, Raaj and Reid. If you think about it, the NBA it's been tough this year with all these injuries. The ratings are down. This has been all over the place. Superstars not playing, hurt. But if you look at it, the Eastern Conference, the main team that you know the Pistons are for a fact not better than are, if you guys can agree with me, Boston, the Knicks, the Magic, and Cleveland, and Milwaukee. I'm up in there on Philly. I don't know. They're just a dumpster fire right now. Who knows if they're going to get their season together. But I definitely think the Pistons have a legit shot to get to that 6th seed. Indiana and Miami are above them, but they do play Indiana tomorrow. I definitely do think that with Jaden Ivey getting hurt, I mean, I don't want to push somebody getting hurt, but we have seen Cade unleashed, like playing like the superstar, the number one pick that we thought he could be. I definitely believe he's an all-star. I think he should be in the running for even all NBA team discussions right now. This team plays hard for JB Bickerstaff. They play physical, punch you in the mouth. This is great. Malik Beasley, I believe leads the league in 3-pointers made on the season. So this team just plays hard, man. I love it. Now I'm at the point where I didn't want to see them make a move at the deadline, but I think it's possible. Let's go make a move. I don't know who they can get. Make a move, get a shooter. Maybe Cam Johnson from the Nets. I would like to see add some more shooting to the team. But I like where this team is at. They're, I will say, a lot better than what we expected because I believe they have 25 wins projected coming into the season, and they're going to go well over that, I believe. So I'm just loving the JB Bickerstaff, new coach. He cares, unlike Monty Williams, who was just here to get a paycheck. It's still unreal. Tom Gores has managed to stay out the way fine. It's like Trajan Langdon knows what he's doing, although I do want Beast out of here still. But hey, that's just me, guys. But so far, I'm impressed right now. Sitting at 21-19, 2 games over 500, the most they've been in 5 or 6 years. We never thought that. So
2019.
I like it. I'm impressed. Probably the biggest surprise in NBA right now. And now if they can win, maybe they can get a national TV game and people can actually really see Cade Cunningham hoop.
They have one. They have one national televised game this year. Maybe they'll get some flexed. But yeah, I know they have one. What were you saying, Raj? You were trying to get something there.
No, I was just saying Beef Stew has been playing much better this season.
I mean, if you watch that Knicks game, Beef Stew played incredible. Yeah. Beef Stew was really good in that game. He played really well against Karl Anthony Towns, who's a lot bigger than he is. He got a lot of key blocks in that. I know I was with you guys earlier, especially last year and earlier in the season. I'm potentially trading Beef Stew, but he's really stepped it up, man. I think he's averaging almost like a block and a half a game, like through the month of January. So he's been playing really well. I mean, he's obviously not going to produce for you offensively, all that much. But that's not really what who he kind of reminds me of. Well, I guess not really because he would play offensively. I was going to say a little bit of Al Horford, but he plays a little bit more violent defense than Horford. But he's kind of that guy who's not going to offer you a lot offensively, but he's going to kill it defensively. I mean, you could equate it to Dennis Rodman because Dennis Rodman didn't really score a whole lot, but Dennis Rodman was one of a kind. I think like Adrian said, everybody, 25 wins was the goal. That was another one I thought they were going to beat, so I probably should have parlayed that with JMO on 1,000 yards. Probably could have made some money. But excuse me. Yeah, I think Cade should be an all-star. Do I think he's going to get the all-star nod? No, because I think there's too many guards that are going to make it. I think I sent it to you guys the other day. The East, he was 7th in voting in the East, and that's probably because, one, he's on the Pistons, so he's not really seen a lot nationally televised. It's cool seeing his highlights. When they beat the Knicks, they were all over ESPN and everything like that. But you have LaMelo leading it. You have, and I looked all this up. The only person that's beating him in categories are two guys. LaMelo is averaging more points, which is 30, but he's the player that scores the most on the Hornets, and they don't have anybody else. And then Trey Young, I want to call him Trey Lance. Trey Young is beating him in assists, and he's averaging 12, which is good because he's been doing that for a long time. Trey Young has been dishing the rock well for the last 3 seasons. But other than that, Cade leads all the other guards in points, rebounds, and assists, other than obviously Trey and LaMelo. So I think he should definitely be considered there. But there's guys, Cleveland's going to have to send 2 guys. Will Garland go? I don't know. Mobley could potentially be one as a forward. But yeah, I think Cade just plays, and unfortunately, it's going to be that Detroit bias that's not going to get him in, depending on how much the fan vote counts. I'm not really familiar with the NBA All-Star Game right now with how the votes count, because I know it's changed over the years so many times. But yeah, he's just not the popular guy to get in. But he's played incredible. I mean, he's averaging. I didn't look what it was after this last game, but last I looked, he was averaging it was basically 25. It was like 24.9. So we'll say 25, 9.5 and 6 or something, I want to say. So
yeah, 24.5, 6.6 rebounds, 9.4 assists.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think
True.
I saw somebody's Jeff Teague was he reminds him a lot of Luka, which I think Cade is a better mid-range shooter than Luka, and I think he's a better defensive player than Luka, obviously. But yeah, yeah, that's true too. I saw who did I see? It was I think someone who does a podcast with Gilbert Arenas. He reminds me a lot of Brandon Roy. I don't know if you guys remember Brandon Roy in Portland.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So he said he plays a lot like Brandon Roy. Obviously, Brandon Roy wasn't I think Cade's ceiling is higher than his, but yeah, this Pistons team's exciting, man. I mean, I can talk about them a lot now since they're winning and they're having, they're obviously having fun doing it. I don't know if you guys see on social media all the stuff that those guys run back in the locker room like they're, like they won a national or won a NBA championship every time they win, which is a great mentality to have. And I think JB needs to have a lot more recognition than he's getting. He should definitely be considered for a Coach of the Year candidate. Do I think if they make the playoffs, he could potentially win it, but he's brought this new life to this team. And going back to what Adrian said, I saw the stat Malik Beasley Jaden Ivey had 124 threes. He led the Pistons all season with 124 threes on the season last year. Malik Beasley has 152 at this point, right after the Knicks game. He's got 152 threes made. The single season leader was Sadiq Bey with 212 in his rookie season. So I think Beasley will definitely beat that as long as he stays healthy. Huh?
He's gonna shatter that.
Yeah, especially if he stays healthy. Even if he doesn't stay in the starting lineup for Ivy, which I think he will until Ivy returns, he'll definitely shatter that record for sure.
He's shooting 40.4% from 3, which is average 16.5 points per game. I mean, when we signed him, I thought, hey, that's a good guy who can give you some shooting, but he's hit his ceiling with his team this year, and he's playing probably the best basketball of his career. I mean, when he's been all over the place in the league, he's known to be a great shooter with Denver, Minnesota. But the Pistons have got the most out of the value for that 1-year deal he signed.
Yeah, Florida State guy too.
Sure.
Yeah, good job by the Pistons surrounding Cade with shooters with Hardaway and Beasley. Those are 2 good signings right there. And Cade also third in the NBA right now, triple doubles.
One more question before we move on from the Pistons. So guys, do you think? And I'll give you my answer, but do you think that the Pistons are much better without Cade and Ivy playing together rather than them playing together? Because it seems as Cade is a little more, he doesn't think as much when Jaden Ivey's on the floor. The offense rolls way better without him on the court.
I'll let you answer first, Raj, and then because I'll give a little bit longer answer, I assume.
I think they're better with Ivy, me personally. I think you need all hands on deck right now. This is a good team. They're sending up. Ivy's one of your young core players that you plan on having around Cade, so I think you're better with him in the mix.
The thing that I like about Ivy and that JB's done with this team is that he makes sure it's something that Monty didn't do, obviously, because he kept killing on the floor. But JB makes sure that whether it's Cade starting and even Ivy starting, in the starting lineup, he'll have one of them on the floor at all times. So whether one subs out and then Beasley comes in for that guy, gives you that 3-point opportunity, or one comes in for Hardaway, he has one on the floor basically at all times during the game. They just sub out, and sometimes they're on the floor at the same time, generally to start the game. So I do like him for that. I think they'll still continue to be good without Ivy on the floor, but I think he definitely helps. Like Raj said, he's one of those young core players that they're really building around. So yeah, I think you're still slightly better with Ivy on the floor. The one thing about Ivy, I think he needs to make a little bit of a decision is whether he's going to be that Jaylen Brown type that doesn't really shoot the three as much, because they have like a guy like Derek White is like the perfect Malik Beasley comp for this team, basically, because he comes out, he shoots the three, he gets open. That's kind of what Derek White does for Boston. And then Tatum is like the Cade, where he can shoot threes, but he's still, I think Cade's a better defender personally, but and then Brown doesn't take as many threes, but he takes them when he needs them. So I think if Ivy can kind of get that in his bag, then I think that then they'll play a lot more cohesively than if he's trying to jack up threes all the time.
Yeah, I mean, can't be wrong with it. I think that they're gonna find a way to make a move at the deadline if they keep winning, because they got a little tough schedule right here. Was you got Indy, then you got Phoenix, and then you got Houston. So,
and I want to say one thing too, that I mean, I see Pistons fans saying it, and I get it, because it is a little frustrating because you expected him to be better because of past years, but I don't want them to trade Tobias at the deadline because I think he's too much of a veteran leader. I've said it before, potentially cut back his minutes or trade him because he wasn't playing well, but this team found a spark. So I think Tobias has really offered a good, like when Taj Gibson was here for James Wiseman, how he said that he helped James Wiseman a lot. I think that Tobias is doing that a lot with this young core, and he's producing well. I saw a funny stat that he's averaging more points, and he scored more points this season than Embiid and Paul George combined. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, I think he's a guy that sticks around. I think a guy that if you do want to trade, because you can't really give up a whole lot of assets. I think our first round pick's probably going to be gone to the Knicks this year because it's not going to be a lottery pick or higher in the lottery. I think it's protected to 14, which is the lottery, right? Isn't it the end of the lottery is 14? So it's 14. I mean, if you're a 5 or a 6 seed, that's not a lottery pick, correct?
Yeah, it'll be in the playoffs, so it'll be out.
Yeah, exactly. So if you make the playoffs, you're not gonna get a lottery pick. So you're probably getting rid of that first round pick this year, which stinks. But I mean, those later round guys are real hit and miss. So you have to really evaluate what guys on the team that you think are essential. Beasley you have to keep. I think Hardaway could be a piece that you trade away. Obviously, Beef Stew, if you really think you can get a guy that will make more of an impact, he could be traded away. I know.
Sasser probably.
Yeah, Sasser for sure. I know that's your guy, Raj. But I mean, if you look at it too, like injuries aside, he's not going to get much playing time when Ivy comes back because Malik Beasley's playing a lot better basketball than he is. So I mean, if you could trade, maybe call up New Orleans and see if you can trade Sasser, Tim Hardaway, and maybe a couple seconds or a first round pick and a protected first round pick in 2027 or something for Ingram. I wouldn't like to give away a first, but if you have to, maybe a future protected first, and you can get Ingram on this team and have him, play the 3. And Tobias still plays the 4, Duran at the 5, and then Cade and Ivy swap or Beasley and Ivy swap. I think that would be a great trade, but it all depends on what you want to do for assets. You don't have a whole lot of them. You know what I mean? You're kind of playing with scraps at this point for trade assets.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I would in a dream scenario, my guy would be Cam Johnson just because he would fit the culture of this team. Great shooter, plays defense. Yeah. He's averaging 20 over there in Brooklyn. He was great for the Suns before he got traded away, and you see what happened to them. He was like that glue guy, so I think he would fit the culture. Not saying they can do it, but it's just an idea. I don't want Zach LaVine. No, thank you. Not that contract and not that bad knee. So it's just a couple guys. I mean. Also, you got your boy Bobby Clinton who's playing in the G League, so let's see if the Pistons eventually bring him up at some point in time this season. So I think regardless that they're in a good spot right now, they're in a lot better position than we thought they would be. We thought maybe they would be in this position a couple years ago, and we even thought we gave Monty a chance, but it's crazy to look back and think that he just thought Jaden Ivey was not good and played Killian Hayes all that time, and I just remember how pissed I was coming on here telling you guys how crazy this is, and he gets canned immediately after, and it was the best thing that happened to this franchise. I'm glad they're finally having some success because, guys, we haven't had that since the Blake Griffin year when Blake Griffin was playing on one bad knee.
2019.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
I do want to say I saw something funny again the other day. It was Cade has played with 40 guys in his career on his team, and I think they said only 15 of them are still in the league. The rest of the guys are out of the league. So I thought that was pretty crazy to see 25 guys out of the league that you've played with. No wonder, people were the bus or this team wasn't any good. So, yeah, I mean, the Zach LaVine thing is interesting to me because I think the Bulls would want to get off the contract, so you might be able to get him for cheap. So you could send away, that same trade I talked about, Hardaway, Sasser, but I would send second round picks only for him. No first round picks for him.
Oh yeah,
that contract off of their hands. You said one other guy. Oh, Cam Johnson. The one thing I wish about Cam Johnson is they would have taken the risk on him. What was it, 2 years ago when he signed his contract, and you had the potential to get him. That was a big talk in Detroit sports media is that the Pistons could have gotten Cam Johnson at the trade deadline 2 years ago, which I think they could have done, and they didn't end up doing. So I was a little upset now that you have to get him on a new contract, but he's younger. I wouldn't mind that trade. Brooklyn's rebuilding, so you could probably get him for probably a paperclip and a bag of chips maybe for them. They probably take anything they can get. They're gonna probably get Cooper Flag in the draft if their draft if their odds are any luckier than ours because three they get any one of those three guys who I think are going to be amazing.
Yeah, rumor is they're trying to do what OKC did is build his draft capital up and hopefully hit on a star.
Yeah.
Rumor is they're asking for 2 firsts for Cam Johnson, which is
crazy.
But we're asking for a steep price. They're not going to get it, but they're asking for it.
Yeah, they're Brooklyn's definitely going to be sellers at the deadline. They already got rid of Schroeder, and they're definitely going to be getting rid of more guys. So
they should honestly. I mean, I don't know who would want him, but they should try and trade D'Lo to whoever will take that guy. I mean,
D'Lo's he's on an expiring deal anyways too. So I mean,
okay,
you get him. So there's not too much you can get from him, but I think they'll find a way to move all these guys. They're in complete blow it up mode. So they're just waiting. They'll probably be the biggest sellers at the deadline.
Yes, sir. Some of the feedback here. Everybody watching, make sure y'all like the video for me.
Hit that like for us.
We got my sister Shahada in the building. She says, "I need help with some parlays. Put me some in motion." Ha ha.
Shahada, I'll get you a parlay in tonight before the pods are. We'll get you a light one.
Guys, this is interesting. I just want to. It's not breaking news or anything, but it's real interesting, and I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on it. So we'll talk about it really quickly. So Ben Johnson's been rumored to potentially be the Raiders' next head coach. Tom Brady loves Ben Johnson. It's one of the only jobs open other than the Jags, who are supposedly going after Saleh. But one of my buddies just sent this to me, and it's from the Raiders Beat, which is a verified account on Twitter/X, and it said, with Ben Johnson expected to be the Raiders' next head coach, insiders say one QB to watch. I think Hendon Hooker is a real possibility and did not come up with any of my own. So maybe if Ben Johnson leaves and he likes Hendon Hooker, you could trade him to the Raiders for something, for picks. But I think that'd be interesting to see Ben Johnson go and take Hooker. What do you guys think?
I don't like Ben Johnson to the Raiders. I mean,
I don't either, but it's been picking up traction the last 3 days, dude. Apparently Tom Brady loves him. That situation's horrible. I think the Jags would be better for him, but if he wants to go there and he likes it, I mean, he can go. It's just what a weird organization they choose.
Well, the problem with the Jags is their general manager is a complete buffoon. So Trent Baalke's a complete idiot. So I don't
that whole thing where he said he'd fire him if the head coach didn't want him. So I think Ben Johnson.
Well, if that's the case, If that's the case, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm going there or Chicago. That's a realistic spot, even though it's in the Lions division, but you got to go somewhere where there's a quarterback. You can't go nowhere. The Raiders don't even have a high enough pick to be able to move up unless they get super desperate. But I don't know. They've been a dysfunctional franchise for so long. I don't see it happening.
It's just gotten a lot of legs. So I was just interested to see what you guys thought. It's been all over the last 3 days about how badly Tom Brady wants him to go there. And apparently Mark Davis is backing away and letting Tom Brady hire the GM and find the next head coach. So,
yeah, I don't know about the Ben Johnson, Hendon Hooker thing. I don't know if that's the recipe for the Raiders' success moving forward. I mean, Hooker's better than Gardner Minshew, but
I mean, I'm interested. I'm interested to see, because if Ben Johnson does go there and he does take Hendon Hooker's had the year to sit. He's very talented, as we all know. Coming out of the draft, he was a potential first-round pick until that injury. He's very familiar with Ben Johnson's offense. If Ben Johnson wanted to run it, he sat the year. He's learned behind Goff on how to play. I mean, the Raiders, they don't have the highest draft capital, but they're picking what? They're picking top 6, top 7, right?
Yeah, I think they got like fourth or fifth. Something.
Yeah, because the Jags are 6th. Patriots are 4th.
Patriots are 4th. So I think
so the Raiders are 5th. So I mean, if you think about it, they could get that McMillan kid out of Arizona. You have Jacoby Myers already, who's a great wide receiver there. Under what they have, you have Brock Bowers. I don't know, man. That's interesting. I mean, are they going to win a Super Bowl? No, but I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there's a guy named Patrick Mahomes in that division. So
that's true.
So I don't know. All right, let me see some of the feedback here. X says the ratings are down because the NBA just isn't exciting anymore. I stopped watching in 2007.
That's a long time. He has a point about it. Just people aren't excited right now. The problem with the NBA is some of the stars are not even excited to play. I mean, they can't even get the All-Star game right, let alone guys want to play in regular season games. You got guys doing this low management thing I think what is driving people absolutely up the wall. I mean, it's hard to find a team like the Pistons who are actually playing hard. Half the teams in the league are tanking. Look at the bottom of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. All right, let's see. Shout out Jalil in the building. Say, what's up, guys? What's good, Jalil? We appreciate you. And Jalil also sent a $20 donation, so appreciate you, Jalil.
Oh, thanks, Jalil.
Appreciate you, Jalil.
Jalil, we will be getting to your Eagles in a minute.
Oh,
But before we do that, with Reid touched on a little bit the Lions. So Lions play the Commanders this Saturday. But quickly from practice today, David Montgomery was a full participant in practice today. He's expected to play in the game. Right guard Kevin Zeitler missed his second straight practice. He's going to be a game time decision. Taylor Decker also didn't practice today. And for the Commanders, Bobby Wagner missed his second straight practice. So Reid, Lions Commanders this Saturday. Lions 10-point favorite in this one. How you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, I know we texted about it. 9.5 was a little high. I mean, I think it's understandable with the Commanders' defense not being the best. That offense is pretty good, but you've seen a lot of games where they've had against much lesser teams where they've had to come back and win by a field goal. This Lions defense looked a lot better. Now I am interested to see how they're going to play against Jaden Daniels, who's been very, very good. I had him called as the Rookie of the Year in the beginning of the season. You can go back in other pods and you can definitely hear me say that. I think I said he was going to have a better season than Caleb Williams. But I think that they have to contain Jaden Daniels, use kind of the Lamar game when you played the Ravens and got blown out. You kind of have to use that. Luckily, you don't have to face a team with the solid run. They had an okay run game back then, but he can use his legs to get free. You just have to make sure you can stop him. I would say 7.5 probably would be more realistic to a lot of people than 10.5. But I think that they can definitely cover that 10.5 or that 10 points. A lot of people, realize that the Lions offense is top 3 in the league right now. So it all depends on if the defense can stop. Hopefully Aaron Glenn can figure out a game plan to stop Jaden Daniels. He has, loads of film, especially the Bucs that just played, whose defense is pretty solid. And I think your defense could probably hold up with theirs. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think the Commanders defense ranks like 30th or 31st against the run. So getting Montgomery back's huge. Gibbs obviously already just showed you last week that he can run all over anybody. So they need to learn how to stop the run game. And if Bobby Wagner's not there, that's going to be even bigger because he's a huge run stopper. I would be interested to see if there's no Decker and no Zeitler. I think that they may be doing that just out of rest habit. I mean, Zeitler got banged up in that Vikings game anyway. I'm not too worried about it because I think you can swap Glasnow over to the right and put Mahogany at the left guard. Skipper's played well at left tackle a few games, especially against better opponents. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know people would be wary on the 10. If you don't want to take the 10, then have take the Commanders at at that plus 10, that's fine. Or just do an alt spread at 7.5 would be my go-to, or 6.5 for the Lions win by a touchdown. But I could easily see them winning by 2 touchdowns with the way that the Commanders defense plays. It's all stopping Jaden Daniels, honestly.
I mean, yeah. The Lions caught a break, I believe, in my opinion, by getting Washington, because Washington is kind of just playing. They don't really know what's wrong. They got Jaden Daniels. He's a rookie quarterback. He's the first rookie quarterback to win a playoff road game since 2012, and that was Russell Wilson with the Seahawks. So that goes right there to tell you how hard it actually is to do. Washington was able to keep Tampa off the field in that game. They're like the Lions, they're kind of like a poor man's Lions team right now in the way they're building their team. In fact, they like to go for it on 4th down. They're very aggressive. I don't think they have a great running game with Brian Robinson. He's been a solid player, but they haven't been able to run the ball well. Like Reid said, their defense is not great. I think you can take advantage of their corners. St. Juice and Mike Samerstill, my boy, national championship from Michigan. He's playing outside corner right now. They're going to probably move him to the nickel now because Lattimore is back. But I think you can take advantage of the defense. And like he said, if Wagner's not playing, then you can gash them with Sonic and Knuckles. And it's good that David Montgomery's going to be back for this game. I expect him to probably be wearing a big bulky knee brace. So let's see how he looks in this game. But like you said, the offensive line, maybe Decker plays. How long has he been out now?
He missed 1 practice, I think you said, right? And then Zeitler missed 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Zeitler had a hamstring, they were saying, and I know it's probably not as crazy. Yeah, so I don't know how serious.
Like Decker's going to play. And I don't know if it seems like Zeitler might be a game time decision.
I know Terran Arnold practiced too in full participation, so I think he'll be fine, which is a very, very good sign. I seen Rakestraw was activated to the practice list. Hopefully he can play. And I want to see Vildor out there. I know he hasn't been as bad this year, but we'll see. I think they'll be fine. Aaron Glenn has done a great job with these game plans. I think I'm going to be interested to see what he does against Jaden Daniels. I think they're going to be very aggressive and throw some exotic looks at him to confuse him. But he has great poise for a rookie quarterback. So I would say as a Lions, but I think they do. I think they win by. I think they do cover the spread. I am going to say they cover the spread. That week off was well worth it. They really needed it. This Commanders team's coming off a high. Ford Field, as we know, is going to be absolutely electric because they win this game. They will be hosting their first ever NFC Championship game in franchise history, which is shout out to the crazy. And you'll have everybody there from Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson to Eminem to, I could keep going on and on. But I think the Lions won't take this game lightly. I believe they'll come in right away and put their foot on the gas. I just don't think Washington has enough defensively to stop the Lions in that week. Like I said, it was well earned, well deserved, and they needed it.
Yeah, the Lions should cover the spread, honestly, man. They're just a better team. They're just further ahead than the Commanders right now. You got a rookie quarterback coming into a hostile environment. You got Montgomery coming back. If Bobby Wagner ends up missing this game, that's huge for the Lions, especially with Montgomery, your 2-headed monster at running back. You're not going to be able to stop the run. I will give it to Washington. They are playing with house money right now. Nobody expected them to come this far. Dan Quinn goes for it a lot on 4th down. But all in all, the Lions they're just a better team. They're at home. I expect them to cover that 10 points. I expect the Lions to win.
Yeah, another thing too about that the Lions need to do defensively is, one, contain Jaden Daniels. I think that's the key thing that you have to do. But you need another show out from Amik Robertson, in my opinion, and slowing. I'm sure he's going to be the one that's on Terry McLaurin, because he's really the only thing that they have is Terry McLaurin. I mean, Zach Ertz has played well recently, but I mean, you're not afraid of Olamide Zaccheaus. You're not afraid of De'Ami Brown. And St. Brown said it too. It was funny in the podcast. He said they have a guy on the other side of the field that got drafted before me, so he's bringing back that old bit that he did of all the guys that got drafted before him. So I think he wants to play and kind of put it to Washington because they didn't draft him. So I expect a big game out of him. Obviously gives him Montgomery too. So yeah, I think, like you said, I think they're just a better team. Offense is too high powered. Defense is a lot better than Washington's defense. I mean, they just beat the 49ers, who, the 49ers played really bad this season, but I still think that team is even better than Washington and the Vikings. Granted, they don't have the mobile quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels, but I mean, you kind of kind of have to play him like you're playing Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is a little more improviser than rusher. I think he's a little more Patrick Mahomes and Jaden Daniels is a little more Lamar. They're Lamar light and Mahomes light. But, just contain and take away Terry McLaurin. I think you have this game in the bag.
For sure. All right, let's get some of the feedback here. We got my sister back in bed, and she said Lions not going to make it. Too many hurt players.
They've been saying that for the last 8 weeks.
She said, but they're doing good, though. Let's see. She said, Adrian, I'm counting on you. She needs that parlay out of you.
I got you.
All right, so, sticking with these NFL playoffs here.
Penn State was just within 2 points, but now it's I think it's 55-48 is what it said, but they were within 2 points just recently.
Carolina wins 79-53. They've won 6 out of their last 7 games.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so, sticking with these NFL playoffs here. You got the Rams at the Eagles this Sunday at 3 p.m. Adrian. Philly 7-point favorite in this one. This Philly cover.
Yes, they do. And the reason why I believe this is the Rams team, they kind of shocked me with the performance from this defensive line, but they're playing, as we know. I know they got a lot going on with the wildfires and risk. And shout out to all the people dealing with that. I hope everybody's okay, get safe, But with that being said, I just believe the Rams front is good. They're young, but they're undersized. And this Philadelphia offensive and defensive line is dominant. I don't think the Rams get that kind of pressure. I just had this conversation with one of a good friend of mine. He's a Vikings fan. And I asked him about what he thought about the Vikings performance, and he said it wasn't Sam Darnold's fault, which was, some of the sacks, but Sam Darnold was holding that ball too long on that Monday night game, running into sacks. And can you imagine what this Eagles front is going to do to Stafford and company? I know their line's healthy, and then the big key is the Rams are playing outside. Stafford hasn't played in the cold game in a while. I think it's going to be a shocker to a lot of these guys playing in the cold, which they really haven't had to play in all year, especially playing in the NFC West. Jalen Hurts, I know he wasn't great last week, but he missed like 3 weeks with the concussion and having they're pretty much the rest. I believe the Eagles are gonna do what they did last time when they played the Rams. Saquon get a lot of Saquon, but I believe AJ Brown gets a touchdown. Devontae Smith gets a touchdown. The Eagles roll 24-10.
You said 7. I don't know if they'll cover the 7. The way they've played recently hasn't been great. I do think they still win this game, but you're talking about a team that's playing with house money. The Rams, I think, are doing the same thing, playing with house money. They've won a Super Bowl recently already, but I still think that they are playing with the house money. You need to see a lot more from Cooper Kupp and Puka. They were kind of absent in the Vikings game, which was all defensive stand on the Rams' part, which you got to see 2 of those Florida State guys play really well. Jared Verse housed the fumble recovery, and Fisk got a good stack. So I think that they can definitely hold their own, especially the way you watched them play against Green Bay. Granted, Green Bay didn't play great in my opinion, but I think that the Rams can definitely hold their own against Philly. But like Adrian said, I think that D line is going to be too good. Kyron Williams kind of got banged up that last game running the ball so much, so. I think they'll definitely lose. I would say it's going to be 27-24 Eagles.
Okay.
I like Philly in this one. Philly did go out to LA and play the Rams earlier in the season, spanked them. So I'm going Philly in this one. I think Philly covers that 7 points. I do think it's going to be a close game, like in the first half, but ultimately I think Philly's going to pull away. They're at home, they're outside, they're playing in inclement weather. The Rams are a good squad, but they're just not better than Philly, in my opinion. I think Philly and the Lions are on a collision course for that NFC Championship game. So I think Philly gets there, and I think they cover against the Rams. All right, we see some of the feedback here. Axis, Rams upset Eagles as long as their defense plays well. Okay.
I think what they're going to try and do is what they did against the Vikings, which is harder because Jalen Hurts is there. But I think they're going to try and blitz a lot more, like they did against the Vikings. You'll see a lot more blitzes, especially corner blitzes. Kobe Durant is going to do a lot of corner blitzes. He did that a lot.
And I'm going to tell you right now, the Rams corners will not do what they did they will not do that to AJ Brown or Devontae Smith or Jahan Dotson, just because AJ Brown is so physical. So Kobe Durant can try to, and I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be making some of those mistakes that Sam Darnold did. I was honestly shocked, guys, at what I seen from the Minnesota Vikings in the game. You give up 9 sacks. I get the Rams are a solid team.
Lions broke them.
Give up 9 sacks is insane.
My friend said that
Arnold was holding the ball way too long.
Yeah. My friend said that he said the Lions were gonna, or the Vikings. I keep doing that. The Vikings were gonna smash the Rams. I said, nope. I think the Vikings got the Honolulu flu. They just played the Lions. I don't think they're gonna be able to beat the Rams in this one, and that's what happened. I mean, I think the Rams took a lot of what the Lions did in that game against the Vikings last game of the year. They just decided to blitz a lot because Sam Darnold was holding the ball a lot during the Lions game. So I think that they just decided to do that. Now, like Adrian said, you can't really do that with Hurts because he can move with his legs. But I still think he's not as good of a passer as people think he is. So, I mean, we'll see. Again, like I said, I think the Eagles win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer game than people are expecting.
Okay. All right, Jaleel, Philly fan in the building. He says the Rams are a formidable opponent. Much respect. I also think we win a close one. He got his Eagles winning closely. And last one here from David. David said, should Sam Darnold get big money in free agency?
Not what they were talking about. I don't think he should get a Baker Mayfield deal. Would Baker get $50 a year for 3 years? So he got like 8. He's not. I don't think he even deserves that Baker deal. Maybe you give him 3 at 90, maybe something like that. I mean,
what did Daniel Jones get?
He got
40, 4 at 170.
Me personally, I think Sam Darnold should stay. I don't think he should test the free agency waters. I think the best situation for him is Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell. You got a offensive-minded coach. You got a good O-line. You got good receivers. You got a good running back. If he takes a big contract for some other team, he's going to stink the place up and get ran out of town. Like the best situation for him is in Minnesota.
The only thing that I think would be smart on Minnesota's thing, it would be doing the Kirk Cousins and like they did with Washington and tagging him for a year, give him the franchise tag for a year. See how he plays. If he can raise his value midway through the year and by the trade deadline, then you trade him and then you let JJ take over. I think that'd be the smartest move for the Vikings. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Darnold is going to see what the Vikings are going to offer him, and then he'll test it if he doesn't like that offer. I think a good spot, and it depends on what happens because Deshaun Watson just got something happened with Deshaun Watson where he almost violated his contract. Hang on one second. Sorry, my dog's running away from me. But he did something that could violate his contract potentially. So if they can get rid of him and not pay guaranteed money, Darnold would be good there because I think Stefanski is a good offensive head coach. You have good wide receivers there. Run game's pretty solid. I think that could be a good spot for him to land.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next game here. You got the big one in the AFC. Got the Ravens at the Bills this Sunday at 6. Adrian, Ravens 2-point favorite in this one. Does Lamar go to Buffalo and get it done?
This is probably will be the best game of the playoffs. I've been going back and forth on this game. It's arguably the 1 and 2 MVPs, however you decide to look at it. But I'm going to redeem themselves. They got crushed in Baltimore earlier in the season. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen to get to the AFC Championship game. Give me the Bills in a close one. I think this is a low-scoring game, honestly, guys. Give me the Bills 24, the Ravens 21.
Yeah, I think there's a lot on McDermott's shoulders. I think he's on a hot seat if they don't win this one. Josh Allen, I think, wants to make it to the AFC Championship game to try and redeem himself against Patrick Mahomes, which the boogeyman's going to come around always in that division. So I'm with Adrian. I do see Buffalo winning this game. Playing at Buffalo is always hard. I know you play in Baltimore and it's still cold, but Buffalo's more north. They can get more snow. I know Baltimore's right off the water, but I still think Buffalo is too. But it can get a lot colder in Buffalo than it can in Baltimore. So I think I see Buffalo winning this one. I'm going to say, as long as they can stop Derrick Henry, I think that's the biggest thing. I'm going to say 24 Buffalo, Ravens 17.
Yeah, we unanimously agree on this one. I like the Bills as well, man. I want to take the Ravens, but they did pop Buffalo earlier in the season. Now it seems like everything's set up for Buffalo to get them back. They're at home, playoff, hostile environment. Everything's set up for them to get their get back in this game, man. And it sucks for Lamar. He's 3-4 in the playoffs. He's under 500 in the playoffs. Like I do want to see him get over the hump, but I think this Buffalo team, man, they're hot right now. They're at home. Josh Allen is playing well. I think he's going to win the MVP. I think Buffalo wins this in a tight one.
I know it's a regular season award, but I think this game decides the MVP, honestly. I know people already vote and do everything regular season, but I think this one will really push it over.
Didn't the voters already turn their votes in?
Did they? I thought
because it's really they don't base it off the playoffs, so they are. I think they already voted.
I thought they still waited at least one more week, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I believe all the votes are turned in at this point. I think they just haven't announced it yet.
Okay. I mean, that would be crazy if Lamar doesn't win it for this one. And you guys know I'm not a big Lamar guy, but I think him winning it last year in 2023, it would almost be like a get back, honestly, like a makeup MVP, really, because he definitely could win. He definitely deserves to win it this year, the way that he's playing, but he shouldn't have won it last year, in my opinion. I mean, he threw for like 3,500 yards, 23 touchdowns, like 9 interceptions or something, and he still won it. He didn't even rush for that much last year. Again, Joe Burrow is a guy that got kind of he lost his chances because he went 9 and his team went 9-8, but he threw for 40 touchdowns, 5,000 yards, and 7 interceptions. So that was last year, obviously. I'm saying, but yeah, that AFC is just crazy. That the fact that you have 4 teams: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. If his team is good and makes it to the playoffs, like you have to go through 2 of those guys at least to make it to, you have to go through 2 of them to make it to the Super Bowl, which is crazy to me. Like that is a wild track there, and the NFC obviously is a little bit easier when it comes to quarterback. So I think Adrian or not Adrian. I think Josh Allen is gonna beat the Ravens for sure.
Yeah, some of the feedback here. Axe says Joe Burrow is the MVP.
Joe Burrow can't be the MVP when they continuously get off to a slow start. So there's no excuses. Even my Steelers made the playoffs, and they were horrific towards the end of the season. So, I mean, I know Joe Burrow did his thing, and it wasn't necessarily his fault with the defense, but some of those early games in the season where he was throwing crucial picks and turnovers can't happen. So you first and foremost, you need to be able to make the playoffs if you want to even be in the MVP conversation.
I mean, it's the same thing that happened last year. Honestly, his team went 9-8 again this year, and he threw for over 4,500 yards, I believe, and I think around 40 touchdowns, and he had less than 10 picks. So I mean, his stats are amazing, but when your team's defense doesn't show up and you don't make the playoffs, you're never going to win an MVP. It just happens that way, unfortunately.
Do you think he finishes in the top 3?
Yeah.
No.
I think they'll probably have Saquon up there in the top 3.
Saquon should finish 3 at least.
Yeah, I think they'll have Saquon up there just because of the year that he had. But yeah, he could because it's quarterback award, so maybe. But unfortunately, my guy Goff's not going to be up there either. So
yeah. All right, let's see. Last one here. Exit. Reid, who said KC was beating Houston?
Did I say that?
No.
I don't believe so.
Maybe he's asking. Maybe he's asking for your prediction on the KC and Houston game.
Oh, who's winning in that game? I think KC is going to win that game just because it's Kansas City. I mean, Houston played amazing against the Chargers, but it is the Chargers. So, Justin Herbert throwing 5 picks. You're generally not going to win a game when you throw 5 picks unless you're the Lions, apparently, because they did the same thing against Houston this year. He threw 4. Sorry, but I think unless you can get C.J. Stroud of old, and C.J. Stroud's kind of played a little lackluster, but he doesn't have Diggs, he doesn't have Tank. He has Nico, but other than that, Joe Mixon is good, obviously. But other than that, his receiving weapons aren't great. Dalton Schultz, is he the one who's there now as the tight end?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's not an amazing tight end. He's solid, but he really only has Nico. So I would say that Kansas City's going to win it because they're the boogeyman.
Chiefs are a 9-point favorite in that one.
Yeah, I mean, that seems about right. You got to go. They also have to play in Kansas City, which is another hostile environment. Going to be cold.
Let's look at the weather for that game.
CJ's got to play outside. He plays in a dome all year, which, he played at Ohio State where it gets cold, but not really that cold at the end of November when they play Michigan. And then other than that, if you make it to a bowl game, you're generally playing in warm weather climates or a dome. So I just think that the weather won't fare for the Texan side. Or will home field advantage.
Yeah, Chiefs are just so much. They're just better than the Texans. The Texans,
they are.
they're not there yet. You got a second-year head coach, second-year quarterback. I know a lot of people are making a lot of big deal about the rest that they have. I'm not worried about it at all. You got Patrick Mahomes and you got Andy Reid, the best coach in the NFL. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the Chiefs at all.
That's the same thing as the Lions-Commanders game, in my opinion. If you don't think they're gonna win, and if you don't feel confident in the 9 points, do an alternate spread, do 6.5 or 7.5, and call it a day because they'll definitely cover that. But I don't see them. I mean, they've come to like some close games with teams. I just think the playoffs are different. I just think Andy Reid is ready. I think Patrick Mahomes is built for it. They're finally healthy. You know, they have Pacheco back. A lot of the wide receivers are playing well. Travis Kelce's on his legs. It's just everything is a recipe for disaster for Houston.
Yeah, I definitely think Kansas City's going to win this game. They're coming off the bye week. They just dominated Houston a few weeks back, and now you have no Tank Dell. So I honestly think that the Chargers were dominating that game, and they kind of just made some mistakes in that game, and they had to and gave kind of Houston some life because we know Houston has just been kind of just missing something all year. But they'll come in with some confidence, but they don't have it yet. I just don't think they have enough weapons to beat this Kansas City team.
Yeah, some more of the feedback here. Axe says, good point, Adrian. Also, Bills aren't beating Baltimore. Okay.
Hey, it's a battle between superstar AFC quarterbacks. This is why I talk about my Pittsburgh Steelers, and they want to talk about playing Justin Fields, and you have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert. So it just, it's a gauntlet. So I just think whoever has the best day, but I'm taking Buffalo. They have the home field advantage, and it's going to be hard to beat a team twice in the same season, especially teams I believe are kind of on similar levels. But it's really going to come down to, can Buffalo slow down Derrick Henry?
And that's the thing too about it is the Ravens passing defense is really bad. I think their pass defense is like bottom 5 in the NFL. They're like 29 or 30th in the regular season for pass defense. So Josh Allen can obviously throw the ball very well. He's having a very good season passing the ball. You got to account for him running the ball too, just as much as you have to account for Lamar. I mean, he takes off and he's a lot bigger runner. So I just think Buffalo's defense is a little bit better than the Ravens defense when it comes to that. Like Adrian said, slow down Derrick Henry and then watch Lamar and you should be good. The thing that they have to do is not let Lamar run for, 100 yards or whatever he just did against whoever they played. I can't remember, but he ran a crazy amount there. So they play him. They know the game plan. They remember the game plan from earlier this year. So it's all going to be dependent on that.
All right, let's see. Axe says, Reid said Allen wants Mahomes in AFC Championship.
I think he does. I think he wants to get redemption. He's lost to him, twice in AFC Championships in his career. So, yeah, I mean, he's beat him every year in the regular season. I think he wants to get his get back in the postseason where it actually matters. So,
yeah, these guys got to start getting over this Mahomes hump.
Mm-hmm. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's the Brady effect, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
But granted, everybody who played against Brady in the AFC didn't have the road to Brady that Allen, Lamar, and Burrow have to Mahomes. Like their humps are a lot bigger than whatever it was when you had to go and face Brady in AFC Championship games because they did not have these 4 quarterbacks in that AFC division when he was there.
Sure. We got Jalil here. He says, will Baltimore have Flowers playing?
Not sure yet. He's questionable.
Yeah, he's questionable. We're talking about him potentially being back, but I don't know. We'll see. Guys like Bateman have stepped up this year, so I don't know if, Flowers had a few good games this season, but I don't think he's the guy that, he's obviously the number 1, but he's not the guy that they're, he's not the big impact player like a Derrick Henry or a Mark Andrews is to that offense. I think he's honestly the 3rd best offensive. Well, I mean, other than Lamar, he's the 3rd best offensive player on that team between Henry, Andrews, and then I think Flowers is 3rd.
Yeah, but I mean, you need all hands on deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You better off with him than without him for sure.
Exactly.
All right, so Adrian, your Steelers, they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. Mike Tomlin's catching a lot of flack right now. A lot of people are asking for him to be fired. So is it deserving everything Mike Tomlin is coming his way right now? How do you feel about that?
Oh, the heat he's catching, and he absolutely deserves it. He's the last couple of years, all he's decided to do is make minor tweaks. But at this point, he's put himself in a position where there needs to be major tweaks. Um, Coaching staff, the players, there's got to be a lot of moving, offensive overhaul. I'm just tired of Steelers playing offense like it's 2008. You know, last time we won a Super Bowl, so this has to change. And I don't knock him for making the Russell Wilson decision, but Russell Wilson just completely continues to fade late in the season. He did it late his last couple years in Seattle. He did it in Denver. He played well for us the first 5-6 games, and he completely faded. Because remember, he missed the first 6 games of the season this year with a calf injury. He comes back and he still fades. And his offense, his organization needs to do something. They need to figure something out because they continue to fade late into the season. You go 10-3. At that point, guys, I'm feeling good. And then they find a way to lose 5 straight. Now, it would have been one thing had we won to Baltimore, we lost in a close, tight game. But the fact is they kind of just quit late in that game and kind of just got steamrolled. And the game was never close. I know Russ threw for 270 and 2 touchdowns. Empty calorie stats. Need to move Roger Jones to left tackle and move Fatano over to right tackle once he comes back healthy. Offensive line, I think, is okay. Need to get more explosive in the backfield. Najee's probably going. I know he's a free agent. They're not going to re-sign him. The RB class is deep. Need to go get another guy to pair with George Pickens. Find a quarterback who's going to throw the ball down the middle of the field to Pat Fryer because I believe he's a really good tight end. My guess is, if I'm here to tell you guys right now at this moment, is what January 15 at 9:14 p.m. Next season's quarterback is probably going to be Justin Fields. And Russell Wilson is gone. I do believe the Steelers need to find a way to get a developmental quarterback, whether it's a guy who's ready in a year or two, some guy who can sit and be ready to go because the clear questions, like I said earlier, you have to get through this gauntlet of the AFC quarterback play, and it's just not good enough what they are. They're kind of how the Pistons was after they went to 8 straight conference finals and they kind of just sat in mediocrity. And that's the worst. That is the worst place to be, and they're sitting in there right now. So I'm going to see if that makes some changes. I do think the DC is going to get fired, Terrell Austin. The offensive line coach needs to get fired. Like I said, there has to be a rehaul and a change completely in order for me to feel confident about what they're going to do. But Mike Tomlin put this on himself.
I do want to say it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I feel like Russ is getting a lot of the blame in Pittsburgh. I don't feel like it's all his fault. Like the first half of that game, don't get me wrong, the offense was lethargic, but guys were dropping passes. You had a big passing play that got called back for offensive pass interference on Pickens. Russ actually had an efficient game. He didn't turn the ball over. He was doing the best he could. The defense was terrible in that game. Derrick Henry, Lamar were running all over them. So Russ gets a lot of the blame. But me personally, I would bring Russ back and I would move on from Fields. But that's how I feel.
I just know a lot of the guys in the locker room were not happy with the Russell Wilson, how he talks, how he moves, how he works. I just think it kind of run its course. There was a report out that came out in the last couple of days that said him and Arthur Smith, the OC, weren't getting along. So I think it's just a lot going on. Guys in the locker room weren't happy. I think TJ Watt wasn't all the way healthy with the ankle injury. And I think next season they need to do a better job at finding a way to move him around in the formations. Moving him inside, outside, moving around, so he can't continuously get chipped and double teamed and blocked. So he's got to get better at that. We got to upgrade on the other side of the corner because it wasn't good. So there's a lot of things that need to be changed. Like, yeah, you're right for sure, but just the fact is the offense continues to start slow every single game where you cannot do anything. By the time you get your rhythm, it's the third and fourth quarter, and especially with teams you shouldn't even be falling behind to. So it's just a myriad of issues that need to be addressed coming into this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally with you, Raj. I think that Russ was a lot of the problem. I think I found myself watching a few more Steeler games than I normally would have because I was interested to see the Fields experiment, and I think he played well the first couple of games that he was there. I think he wanted to rely more on his legs than he did on anything else, but they also didn't have great receivers then. O-line was banged up. If you look at Russ in a lot of these games that he's played, he's tried to be Russ of old. He's tried to be Seahawks Russ. There was a play in that game when they played the Ravens, and he instead of taking time, which we talked about holding the ball too long, instead of taking time to let the play progress, he rolled out and tried to run for a first down. I think it was 3rd and 5 or 2nd and 5, something like that. He rolled out. He tried to break the edge. He's just not fast enough anymore. He ended up getting to the line of scrimmage, but he had to reach the ball out to get it. He would have lost a yard or two if someone would have got, if the pursuer would have got to him. But yeah, I think it does lay a lot on Russ. I think he has run out of gas. I don't think he's really the guy that, he used to be. He's kind of like the Aaron Rodgers, where it's like people are kind of living in the past on what he used to do. And he's not that guy anymore. It just happens when you get old, you don't perform as well as you used to. So, I would be interested to see if they run it back with Justin Fields, get him some wide receiver help. A thing I would like to see them do, and I said it to Adrian earlier, I think it was last week, go after a guy like Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart is a sleeper in this draft. I think a lot of people are gauging, Cam Ward and Shedeur as the top guys in here. I think Jackson Dart just, Ole Miss in general just kind of faded at the end of the season. They didn't play well against Florida, obviously, which he didn't look great throwing those picks, but I think he definitely has the potential. He's a solid player. I think you're going to see his draft stock rise a lot in the process, especially during the combine. So that would be a guy that they could, potentially take a flyer on, which I know you're not in the situation to do that, but you need a quarterback. I think Jackson Dart would be a guy in this draft to take, because everybody else is not really, a viable pick. Rourke's old. He doesn't really have time to sit. You have guys like Dylan Gabriel, I think, is too small and doesn't possess the throw power that you need. So a guy like Jackson Dart would be a sleeper. I think he potentially could be, the number one quarterback in this draft, and people are just not gauging him because he's not popular like Cam Ward was. He's not popular like Shedeur was. So that'd be a guy to be interested to see. And then if they could package him with a guy like Trey Harris, who he played with in college, he's another big wide receiver. Obviously, he might be a downfield threat, but he could be a guy that you could partner with Pickens, and that'd be great. So, like Adrian said, they need to work on that offensive line, maybe work on getting Watt around that defensive line. But yeah, the quarterback is the main thing there. I don't think you should fire Tomlin. He's a generational head coach for a reason. He's taking you to these playoff games with basically nothing. Has he shown anything in the playoffs? No, but I think guys still get behind him, and I still think he's a great head coach.
For sure. Some of the feedback here. Jalil says, to me, Russ has lost a step.
Yeah, Reid said it 100%. You can see it.
All right. Axe says Steelers have no receivers. Pickens is soft as a pillow and a big brat.
He's definitely a diva. The talent is there, but he's got to definitely mature a little bit. I think next season is gonna be this is last season of his rookie contract, so it's gonna tell me a lot of what we need to know. So we'll see what happens.
Leading up to that, he's really buying into that whole Steelers diva persona that they have every time they draft a receiver. He has the talent, man. If you watch that game, granted, like Adrian said, empty calorie plays, but I mean, he made that one catch on the sideline that was in between two defenders and ran it for a touchdown. Like, he makes spectacular catches. He had a lot in the season. It's just he has Russ throwing in the ball where he throws him. Let's say he gets 7 targets. 4 of those targets are probably within his catch radius, and the other ones are probably, hospital balls. So I think Pickens is good. He just has to clean up the attitude a little bit.
Yeah. Last one here from DC. He says, Mike Tomlin to the Raiders.
No, Mike Tomlin has a no trade clause in his contract. So whenever Mike Tomlin does leave, I think it's either he decides on his own or he retires. The Rooney family. So we've only had 3 coaches in the franchise history: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. So I don't think it happens. It would be Mike Tomlin forcing his way out if it does happen.
Yeah, I think again, if they do hire a guy, I think Ben Johnson's locked for that. The way that things have been talking about recently, I hope it's not true because I'd like him to stay. But from what it sounds like is, if he goes anywhere, it's going to be the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't think Tomlin's going anywhere. They need to make moves on the coaching staff and personnel changes. I don't think the head coach needs to change though.
They need to find an OC is what they need.
Arthur Smith will be interviewing for 2 coaching jobs. So I mean, if he gets one, that may be a blessing in disguise. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, or Doug Peterson's out there. I don't know how you feel about that.
At first, we got to find a quarterback. That's the number one goal right now, to find out who our quarterback is going to be and surround him with some talent, with some influx of talent. So I think those are the main priorities. But if the Steelers do fire the coaches, whatever moves they make, generally they do this within the first week or a week and a half of the after the season's over with. So be on the lookout for the next couple of days. I'll be giving you guys updates because I expect some moves to be made.
Okay, Mike. Last thing here, Reid. Quinn Ewers did declare for the NFL draft today. So, what do you think his ceiling is in the draft? What's the highest you could see him going?
That's crazy that he declared. I mean, I think that there's teams that will. I mean, you got to think of how many QB needy teams are there. I mean, there's Seattle potentially. The Browns might take a flyer on a guy because they're always dead with quarterbacks. The Saints need a quarterback. I mean, the ceiling. It's so weird with drafts because he could come out and I mean he has the talent. He's shown it. He just didn't do good in college. He could, he could shock some people at the combine, and people really like his arm strength and the way that he plays. Late second round, I think, could be a high ceiling. Early third round would be the highest ceiling. I think the lowest. I think he probably goes like round 5. I don't think he makes it. I don't think he goes undrafted by any means. But I mean, he's probably the guy. If you look at the talent wise in this draft, I think he's the guy that is probably the 4th ranked quarterback in this draft. I think it would go, Shadur, Cam, Dart, Ewers. I think just talent wise, it would go off that. And I think a lot of I think Cam is probably the most quarterback, like, the biggest specimen that you would want. I mean, he's big. He's 6'5". He's got a cannon for an arm. Like, he's really what you want, like the prototypical quarterback you would want. So yeah, I don't think guys like Rourke, obviously, like I said, he's old, injury prone. Dylan Gabriel, small. I can't even think of any. Adrian's guy, Klubnik out of Clemson. I mean, you could maybe see some teams sneaking him. He's
coming back to school though.
Yeah.
Is he? I thought he declared.
Yeah, no, he went back to school.
Oh, I thought he declared. So
you got Jalen Milroe out there too.
Yeah, Milroe. I mean, people might like Milroe just because his mobility. I think that he showed that he's not that great the last couple of games of the season. So I think he drops lower than Ewers, in my opinion.
Yeah, his draft position is going to depend on fit. I think that's the most important thing.
He's one of those guys you have to draft and hope that you have someone in place to sit behind for a couple of years so you can learn a scheme and you have to have a team that has an OC that's going to be there for a while, an aging quarterback that's going to potentially be out in 2 years, and a head coach that's going to stick around. If you have an organization that has a revolving door of coaches, he's not going to make it in the NFL, in my opinion.
Sounds like the Steelers to me.
They don't have anything in front to sit him behind, though.
I mean, if we can find a way to get him, I'll be fine with that. The talent's there. Talent's there, and he's still young. I think he's just about to turn 22. So, remember he reclassified. So the talent is there. Just if anybody can get the most out of it. So.
Yeah, I just think you need somewhere that has a quarterback, and the Steelers don't have that.
Yeah. So as far as Quinn Ewers, if he has a good combine, good pro day, he can go as high as the second round because I mean after Shador and Cam Ward, it's pretty much wide open. So if he looks good, he could help his stock out. He can go early to mid second round. All right, well yeah, that's all I got. Well, anything else you guys want to add before we get up out of here?
Hey, we'll do some college basketball next week, so I'll give you guys some stuff because we haven't really got to dive into it because it's really tapping into conference play right now. I'll give you some updates on Player of the Year awards and things like that. So we'll give the people what they want if they haven't had a chance to really dive in yet.
Spartans are up 5 with 4 minutes left in the second half.
Okay, there it is. All right, well, good show, fellas. Sports update. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all like the video, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.